huge. That's amazing.
Wow. Oh my gosh, yo.
Oh, wow.
You're not done yet.
Hi, my name's Josh, lead pastor of Centerpoint Church, and I want to thank you for being with us on Church Online. Today, we are concluding our annual giving campaign and series called Be Rich. And before we get to that, I want to talk to you about something exciting for next week. We are starting a brand new series called The Person I Wish I Could Be. And I'm excited about this because we are inundated with perfectionism. Now, I'm not excited by that at all. But what I am excited about is helping us navigate this world of discontentment. You see, someone else always has the best job or the cutest kid or the happiest relationship. And what we do is we feel this pressure to measure up to other people's statuses, their successes, and their expectations of us, or even our expectations of ourselves. And this leads to tension between the person we wish we were and the person that we actually are. And we all want to be more, and at the same time, we wish we were enough. Now, I believe there is a way forward through this discontentment, and that's why I want to say next week, I want to encourage you to come back to Church Online, invite a friend with you, let them know that we are starting this brand new series as we want to help people navigate that discontentment with this brand new series called The Person I Wish I Could Be. I can't wait to start this new series, and I want to invite you and a friend to be there next week. Now, today we are concluding our Be Rich series, and today is a day of celebration. We get to celebrate all that God has done over this month and all that you of our church have contributed in giving, in serving, and in loving our online as well as our community. We are in Langley, BC, our community around us, that we get to bless them and make a difference in our community around us. And you might be asking the question, why do you do this? And the reason that we do this is because we believe that all people matter to God, regardless if God matters to them or not. And this also stems from this idea, the whole idea of be rich, is because this man named Paul wrote a first century letter to a young pastor, Timothy, encouraging him and those in his church that he led to be rich in good deeds, to be generous and willing to share. And so this month, that's what we've done. We've encouraged you, Centerpoint Church, to be generous in giving, to share and serve, and to love our community well. And so today we get to celebrate all that has happened through this Be Rich annual campaign. And one of the things that this guy named Paul wrote to Timothy, one of the things earlier on in this letter, is he says, command those who are rich, not to trust and put their hope in their wealth, but to put their hope in God. Now, when you hear this, I don't know what your background is, but even those that are Christian, it's easy to put this into a cliche category or make this a bumper sticker, right? Trust in God or put your hope in God. And I understand that and I get that. But what I also understand is that Centerpoint Church was predicated on hope. As we brought two churches together, Center Church and Fraser Point, we hoped that God would use us to make a difference in the community around us. That this would be more than church online experiences, and I love church online. More than in-person gatherings, and I love in-person gatherings. More than small groups. It would be this movement of people that would make a difference in the community around them. This is the hope that we had. And this is a part of our story at Center Church and Fraser Point, as we now have come together as Centerpoint Church. Now, this is our story. But it came from a place, and this was a tension that I wrestled with, and we wrestled with at both churches as we brought two churches together. We wrestled with this tension, especially as COVID hit. There was something that permeated to the surface, and it was this. It was this question. And it created a lot of tension. And it was this. Were our best days behind us? Now, when I say that, I remember in March 2020, setting out in the year in January and February, and then in March, having so much hope for the year ahead, and all churches were shut down. As a matter of fact, the world began to shut down. There was isolation and there was lockdowns, and both churches at Fraser Point Center should ask this question: are our best days behind us? As we couldn't meet in person anymore, as even small groups couldn't meet in one place, we asked ourselves this question. And then personally, I asked myself this question: are the best days behind, are they in my past? Have I somehow lived my best life already? And what I know about myself and what I know about us and you across the camera is we ask ourselves this question: are my best days behind me? Now, a funny example of this is in the movie Napoleon Dynamite. There's this Uncle Rico character, and he's about 40 years old, and he's still living the dream of his past. That perfect throw when he was a football player, that pass that if only he could have completed, that he would have become the hero that he thought he could be. What makes it funny in the movie Napoleon Dynamite is that years and years have passed, but he's still living his best life, and he believes that his best life has already taken place. And you can see that he hasn't moved on. And for many people, this became the reality in COVID. But as we brought two churches together, and today as we celebrate at the end of Be Rich, I believe with all of my heart that the best days are not behind us, but the best days are ahead. The best days are ahead of us. And it's more than just a feeling. It's more than just conjuring up some excitement. It's more than that. And you might ask yourself, Josh, how do you have that hope? And why do you have that hope? And it's for the same reason that Paul guy I talked about earlier. It's for the same reason that Paul had hope. And he was a man that went from destroying the church to building the church, who wrote the majority of the New Testament and wrote a letter that we're going to read today to a church in Rome. And he didn't want them to lose their hope. Now for Paul, he's a character that you would say, Paul, you probably could have lost your hope, or maybe even we would say should have lost your hope. Now let me explain that. Paul was persecuted for believing certain things. He was jailed. He was beaten. He was whipped. He ends up shipwrecked, bitten by snakes. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of things that happen to Paul. And yet, the remarkable part is he doesn't lose his hope. And he's actually encouraging other churches to have that hope. And it's steadfast, and it's full, it's consistent. And he's going to give us insight today on how to have that type of hope and how we build our life and find that hope. Now, he uses words in the middle of this letter to the Romans, in Romans chapter 8. He uses words like trouble and hardship and persecution. He writes about famines that have come and those that can't even clothe themselves. And in all of that, that hope remains. And so you ask the question, as we would look at this text, Paul, how do you find this hope? Even as we come out of COVID, how do we find this hope? And even as we end the Be Rich campaign, as we talk about the future and we talk about what's happened, we celebrate what God has done, that we have hope for the future. And why can I say that the best days are ahead? Well, it's the same reason Paul says it. And at the end of Romans 8, as he goes through all this hardship, he talks about how he made it through and the hope that he had and what he built it upon. And he uses these words: "For I am convinced." I am convinced. Now, we would read this and we would say, okay, well, I get that. But this word convinced it means to have become convinced, and then as he has become convinced, remain in that place. This is not some airy-fairy type of convincing that took place by binging through Insta stories late at night and finding a little bit of inspiration. No, it's through the legs of his journey as he had to cling to a hope greater than himself. He's saying, through it all, I am convinced more than ever. And this is a rational, this is a settled and unalterable posture that he takes. He says, I am convinced, look at this, that neither death nor life, he says, neither angels nor demons, anything evil that you can't see is what he's communicating. Neither the present nor the future, nor any powers. Now he's just making an exhaustive list. He says, neither height nor depth, nor anything else in all of creation will be able to separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus, Jesus our Lord. This is what he's saying, is there's nothing that can separate us from God's love. And this is the kind of God that Paul believed in. This is the kind of God that Paul put his hope in. That nothing could frustrate God's purpose or quench God's generosity towards those he loves. And so too, this is the foundation of our hope. The love that we gave away this month, the things that we did, stem from this experience that we have of this pursuing, consistent, never-ending, never giving up love that God has for us. And the same love that pursued and changed me and many others, even those of you at church online today, it's in as we experience that love that we then find hope, knowing that nothing can separate us from God. Nothing. This is the hope that we have. That whether things go really well or not, whether we feel as distant as possible or we feel as close as we possibly can, that nothing separates us from God. And this is our hope. And the hope of the world is not the church itself. The hope of the world is Jesus. But as the church, those that call themselves followers of Jesus, we carry this hope to the world around us and share the message that God's pursuing, consistent, never-ending, never giving up love exists for all people. And this is what Be Rich was all about. Was receiving that love and giving that love away that we might provide hope for the future. And because of what you have done, Centerpoint Church, in saying yes to give, to serve, and to love, we have been able to help children discover how much God loves them. We've helped lead students and kept them from harmful pathways because of having a stable small group leader through our youth. We've been able to help adults avoid financial crisis and find hope in deep depression. We've been able to partner with 3 incredible organizations, New Hope Community Services, Wagner Hills, as well as the Langley Food Bank. Seeing people break the cycle of addiction, refugees find a place to call home in our city and bring the answer to people's prayer be the answer to people's prayer as they prayed, God, give us our daily bread. We saw youth discover their purpose and saw marriages strengthen rather than fall apart, and teenagers find a place to belong before they believe. And this is all possible. This all happened because you said yes. Because you believed in the hope that we talked about today. Because you experienced God's love and wanted to give that away. And so we get to hold open the door of hope. And we get to share, not just in the Be Rich campaign, or not just for a month in October, but in every Sunday, in all of our environments, week after week, day after day, we get to share that never ending, never giving up, always pursuing the love of God with those in and outside of the walls of our church, and especially those who are watching church online today. And so we celebrate today you saying yes, because you have hope in the future, because you believe that people matter to God. And so you gave, and you served, and you loved well. And so I want to celebrate today those of you who have said yes to serving local organizations in our city. I want to say thank you to those who collectively we all gave, but who gave financially to these incredible organizations. I want to say thank you to those of you who opened your hands and you said yes to giving. And not just in the Be Rich campaign, I also want to say thank you to those of you that have been consistent in your giving as well to Centerpoint Church. I want to celebrate those of you today who sent that text message last week to somebody that needed encouragement at church online. You sent that text and you made a difference. Maybe you even made their day the best day in a while. I want to say thank you for being the church that we had hoped Centerpoint Church to be. Not just a church for insiders, but a church for all people. A place of hope. A place that reveals the love of God to the community around us. You showed love. And it makes me excited, because when I think about the future, I'm not wondering if our best days are ahead. I believe that they are, because of your generosity, because of your willingness to say yes to serving, and the way that you have loved both those in and outside of our church this month. I want to say a huge thank you. But I want to say that this is not the end. The best is ahead. Centerpoint Church, let's continue to give. Let's continue to serve. And let's continue to love. For the world needs the hope that we carry. And for those of you on the other side of the screen, I want you to know, if you're not a follower of Jesus, that God, His love, is consistent. It pursues. It never gives up. It never fails. And there is no place that we can go that's too far from His love. That's the hope that we have as followers of Jesus, and the hope that God provides all of those who put their trust in Him. And so today I want to say, church, thank you. I want to celebrate you. I'm so excited for all that God has done. I want to pray right now for those that are sitting on the other side of the screen that haven't experienced God's love, that you would experience it today, that you would experience that never-ending, consistent, always pursuing love. God, I thank you today for Centerpoint, for all those that call Centerpoint home. Thank you for the generosity and the service and the love that they've displayed to our community. Help us, God, to continually walk in generosity, to continually be rich in good deeds. God, we thank you for that this is just the beginning and that our best days are ahead. For those on the other side of the screen that have never experienced your love, that God, even right now across from the screen, that they would experience your love, that they would experience your peace and your joy, that they would know that there's a God in heaven who loves them. God, we thank you that we can celebrate as we conclude Be Rich all that you've done through us as a church. God, you are the hope that the world desires. Thank you that we can experience that hope today. Amen. Right now, I'm going to pitch back to Carla, and she is going to let you know the difference that you made as a church. We're going to reveal the number that we gave at the beginning in our give portion of Be Rich. She's going to announce that in just a minute. So Carla is up next. I hope to see you next week as we start our brand new series, The Person I Wish I Could Be. We start it next week, but Carla is up right now. Carla, why don't you take it away?